Hello, agus fáilte go trí seasca. Tá mar a bhí rasta tuirse go scíalach go móra bh spórs fór an na ALBA agus phrògram fallach cuideach. Is me Iona Ballantyne agus ha mi tollite ra go bhfuil Lee McConnell a noch ag trí tursan ag na Geamaichean Oilimpigeach cholarúm san studio. Ar a phrògram na héice noch, bhí me hína slí sùil na Geamaichean Oilimpigeach fron de chuair na lùth-chleasaichean Albannach go mór rís an Arab bhain a Futures Bhreatainn. Cluna sin bhó Alyson Bell, tí a cosisian bán áir fo is fichad bliana ag Farpais Òigridh. Agus hans nafad ar Katie Shanahan a Geamaichean Oilimpigeach cótoch a bhí trena Olympian Kathleen Dawson agus Duncan Scott. Lee, welcome to 360.
Thank you for having me.
What a summer of sport we've just had to start back with episode 1. I mean, for you watching it all unfold over the past couple of months, how's it been?
It's been fantastic. I mean, obviously we weren't sure if the Olympics were ever going to go ahead, but it was delivered really well. I think Tokyo did a fantastic job and our athletes really shone out there.
And you, personally, you are a 3-time Olympian, an incredible career over the years. Can you just tell us about that from the start? How did you get involved in athletics and running in the first place?
Yeah, as a youngster, I mainly did sort of swimming and ice skating were actually my sort of main sports, a little bit of netball, a little bit of volleyball and stuff. I think it was probably late primary school, primary 6 or 7, we got to do the relay at the Glasgow schools and we did quite well there, and then went to secondary school. And off of the back of that, my mum took me along to an athletics event at the Kelvin Hall, where you just go along and you try all the different events. And I think it was a summer camp. I went along, did all the different events, and a coach there, high jump coach at the time, approached my mum and said, "Your daughter's really got a bit of talent. I'd love her to come and join our coaching sessions." So started going along, and it just kind of snowballed from there. Joined the athletics club, City Glasgow. Off the back of that, then discovered I could run a little bit. So I joined a sprint coach and did a lot of sprinting, high jumping side by side until I went to university. Just high jumped at that point. Finished university and decided, right, I wanted to be a 400-metre runner. And that was off the back of watching Catherine Mary and Donna Fraser finish 3rd and 4th at the Sydney Olympics. Decided it was time to take up 400-metre running, and it just again sort of snowballed, and I had a sort of fairly successful career.
Did you ever think, I mean, even when you started when you were at primary school, but even at uni when you kind of really found yourself with running, did you ever think back then, I am going to be an Olympian?
I think like you watch the Olympics. My first memory is the Barcelona Olympics. Sally Gunno, you know, fantastic, win the gold medal, breaking the world record. You know, it was incredible. And you watch that and you think, wow, I'd love to do that. And it's a dream at that point, isn't it? It's not something you sit down and write, that's my goal this year. It's a dream. And then you start athletics yourself, and you start doing other events. You know, you go to Scottish Championships, then at the British Championships, and before you know it, that sort of dream's becoming a reality, you know, and it now is your goal. So it doesn't start off that way, not for me anyway. It was more of a dream that I managed to sort of turn into a reality.
But even having that dream, what was it like the first time that you walked out at an Olympic stadium and prepared for your first race there?
Terrifying.
Was it?
Yeah, the Olympics are like no other event. Before I went to the Olympics, I had done my first event was the World Championships. I was part of the 4x4 relay team. That was in 2001. So I went to Canada, and it's just athletics. We stayed in a hotel, and it was really just the GB athletes were in that one hotel. So it's quite a nice introduction to it. And then I went on the following year to Manchester Commonwealth Games, and it was, you know, a multi-sport, so you got a taster of what it was going to be like. You know, a lot of different events all in the one dining hall, all real busyness, you know, getting on the right bus, make sure you go to the right venue, you know. And then I went to European Championships, and then you're back to just athletics again. It's a quite a nice smaller environment. And then the following year, World Championships again, just athletics, so quite a nice tight environment, you know, not quite as intimidating. Then you go to the Olympics, and this is just multiplied, and the dining hall's petrifying, you know, it's just huge. You don't know what to order. I was quite lost, I think, at my first Olympic Games. I found it quite unsettling, to be honest. and that showed, unfortunately, my track performances, if I'm honest. It was quite daunting. It's just so vast and so many famous people, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, there's such and such and this and that, and I got lost in that and got nervous about that rather than just thinking about yourself. And that's what athletes need to do. You know, you need to think about what you're there to do and just focus on that. But there was so much going on, it was quite intimidating, I found. I
suppose that's the thing, a sport career often isn't the longest depending what sport you do, and with the Olympics every 4 years at the kind of pinnacle of your sport, it doesn't come around often, but thankfully after your first one you did have 2 more. Did you feel a bit more settled then when you went to those games?
Yes, definitely. It was good to have had that experience at the first one, to know what to expect. I like to know what I'm getting myself in for, so I do like to know what's coming, and I didn't, you know, it was very unexpected, because I mean, I was only in the sport a couple of years before then hitting the Olympics, so it was quite a short time for me to really get used to how things worked. I was sort of really thrown into it, I think, but I've lost my track, I'm sorry.
Well, no, but even for you personally, I mean, how does it feel watching the Olympics? We just had it.
Yeah.
Was it bizarre knowing that that was once a year?
Yeah, I think I loved watching the Olympics. Don't get me wrong, after I retired, it took me a couple of years to get to grips with being a spectator, but now I just absolutely love it. I think my children think I'm crazy. I'm standing shouting at the TV and stuff like this, but I get really engrossed in it and love watching sort of British athletes and all countries. You know, I actually just love watching all athletes perform, and I'm fascinated with all the different sports and the physical challenges that they have. It's just, I find it absolutely remarkable. Well,
I know that your kids are still quite young, but are they aware of you and what you achieved throughout your career?
Yeah, they sort of know, but they
Did you
don't
say that
really.
Was
They no interest
Do
in
they
me. No, my youngest one says to me, "Mum, guess who my favourite runner is?" I says, "Was it Mum?" He says, "No, who's that?" It's Dina Asher-Smith. I was like, "Okay, thanks for that."
2 really good athletes.
He says, "You're my second favourite." I was like, "Okay, thanks."
At least you know you're up there.
I know where I stand.
But no, it's so good. It's so good to hear about you and your career. We will come back to that after this. Thank you very much. In Albannach, clinching for Alyson Bell, mar val de skipper Futures Bhreatainn, Alyson the coitri lentil, and a lorgan lùth-chleasaichean Albannach lùth-chleasaiche Lee agus Farpais Òigridh h-àire. Frein Alyson with 3 shasket gus barach Geamaichean.
Definitely not in a million years when I started joining because of cross country that I ever thought I would be like sitting in this moment right now.
Sawn as ysgol far a dŵad Alyson Bell amach gyda thall yn daich gan y Bheir. Yn ocean chaich yn y chlybri yn y talaiche, agus chaneli'r stad bon ocean.
I think it was back in primary 6, so our teacher started doing the morning run, so every single day we'd run a couple laps of the school, and I think I just got really competitive. I wanted to beat all the boys, I wanted to be like top of the class, and my friend, she runs for Gifford North, and she was like, "Oh, you should go and see how it is, because you're, you know, quite good at like cross country and stuff." So I signed up, and then I kind of realised I don't like cross country at all. So I moved to the sprints, and that's kind of, you know, where it's been ever since for the past 8 years, I think. After my first nationals with Gifford North, I think I was about second year under 13, and I actually won. I think that was a time where I was like, oh, like people are starting to, you know, congratulate me, and I was starting to get a little bit more recognition because I was a little bit younger winning national medals. But yeah, it was really, really good. I think that was a time where I was like, definitely going to stick with it.
As join a high the Iano ha Alyson id h-Àire call the Academy National lùth-chleasaiche. Rwyt gan torsi corym leisgach id agus faran trach.
It was quite good. So normally after Scottish Champs there'll be like maybe a training programme where we just do, with the Team Scotland coaches, we'll do a couple hundreds, a training session where we can develop our skills. But I'm now part of the National Athletics Academy with Team Scotland, so I made a certain standards and I got in, and it's a 2-year educational programme. It's quite good in the sense it's not just physical, like athletics training. They kind of help us with media and psychological preparation, which is really good, especially when you get to the more tougher competitions.
An na dábhil sa seachtaíoch ba dá roing ag Alyson, na brúgi cúmal a dul di lùth-chleasaiche agus Geamaichean scoile. Wa van freaker sin a féver ag cuarpis howlan na Gothenburg.
Yeah, so I remember back in 2017 I went to Gothenburg Youth Games in Sweden with my club, and I think that was my first real experience of competing outside the UK and competing with different countries, and I managed to walk away with the gold in the 300 metres, which I don't really like the 300 that much, so to walk away with the gold I was kind of like, oh, this is amazing, and it really made me want to keep developing, because at that point, you know, exams were coming on in school, and I was starting to get worried about whether or not I could balance both things, but to walk away with that gold was definitely the motivation that I needed to tell myself to stick with it and keep going. I think it's always just been the love for athletics. I think trying to keep it fun. When it gets to tougher competitions, it's harder to see the fun and enjoyment because it's so stressful and it's such a high level competition, but to always walk away positive and happy with regardless what result, it really does make you want to do it and explore what other competitions there could be.
For Huungedich, who'd Alyson Archer called the skipper Futures Bhreatainn, agus galabi good talents and yuchad on parse gals and race relay Kate meter, ag Farpais Òigridh h-Eòrpa.
Yeah, so I got the call about GB Futures about 6-ish months ago, and we knew they always said the end goal was European Championships, a medal at European Championships. So the pressure was on there to perform, especially because there started out 12 to 16 girls, so I knew the chances of getting picked in a 4-person relay team were a little bit slim and not on my side, like the odds, but I kept showing up to each training session, I tried performing, and we had a couple run-outs at different competitions, and yeah, it went really, really well, so I'm glad I got picked. It was amazing, it felt absolutely amazing, and then they announced the team, and I think there was about 6 to 7 girls that got picked, so even when I went there was still a chance that I couldn't run, but to even be on their radar and to even be one of the 7 picked out of how many girls that compete in the 100 metres, yeah, it felt amazing to have that sort of recognition from other people. It was so weird because we qualified 4th into the final. We weren't one of the big names. There was Germany, there was Poland, there was Switzerland, and so there was no pressure on us really. And I came out the blocks, I got a really good start, I passed it to Eve, and then I just had to sit and watch the other 3 girls run. So watching success cross that line, coming in first, it was an amazing feeling. We just ran up and we just hugged each other, and then we watched the boys go on to win the 4x100 metres as well, and that was just an amazing feeling as well. Celebrating all 8 of us winning was amazing.
A buanachach bewnár ag Farpais Òigridh h-Eòrpa agus yn ysydd addysg y Bhreatainn is on cuarpais yn dihíing. Ag naam charosin ag Futures Bhreatainn de Alyson.
You know, competing in the past couple of years, wearing that Team GB vest always felt slightly out of touch. You know, it didn't feel real, it didn't feel like a reality that could happen for me. So getting that call and knowing that I was going to represent Team GB for the first time, yeah, it was amazing. And it definitely felt like something that I want to continue to do. And I want to represent Team Scotland and Team GB more definitely in the future.
Ha Alyson yn isht an y siach y glachir son y na either sa himmert lùth-chleasaiche. Nis na Geamaichean Oilimpigeach agus na Geamaichean Oilimpigeach is fada. Zunigi a cuide is on Amazon a h-Eòrpa.
Yeah, I think knowing that could be a reality in the future, now that I've got on the Team GB kind of recognition and radar, it definitely fuels me more to continue training and try get on. Even a Team Commonwealth Games would be absolutely unreal, but then to make it to the Olympics would just be a dream come true. I just want to make the most of it whilst I can. I think especially in track and field it can be such a short-lived career, and there can be so many injuries coming, you know, touch wood, I don't get any injuries, but I want to make the most of it. I want to go to the Commonwealth Games. I want to try to get on that Olympic roster, and it would just be insane.
Lee, can you relate to what Alyson's journey and actually how she's getting on in athletics and what she's aiming for?
Yeah, definitely. It was lovely to see that and to see the success that she's been having. And she's having it so young as well, and I think that's fantastic. She's really getting exposure and experience at racing abroad, and I think that's vital because, like we touched on earlier, I didn't really have that experience going into the first Olympics, so she's already had a lot more experience than what I had at that age, so that's fantastic to see. And it's obviously motivating her as well and keeping her in the sport, because we do run the risk of losing females mainly to their academics. So
it probably goes to show just how important a programme like the one that she's on is for developing young athletes and actually putting them on the track to succeed in their career too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's obviously, it's motivating her, you know, and she's seeing the potential she now has and what she can do. And also they're adding other elements into it, you know, the psychology of it. She said the media training, and all that's really important, because one day you're just going along, mind your own business, and the next day you're then having to deal with the media and cope with that as well as your sport. So it's great that they're actually giving them that education at this stage in their careers.
And it's great as well that she does have so many Scottish athletes to look up to now. We have to give a shout out to Laura Muir, because that was it was emotional for everyone watching. I know that on Twitter you said that too, and Laura said that as well. Regardless of where she placed, she was gonna cry. But I mean, to take home the silver medal is amazing.
I mean, for a track and field athlete, the Olympics is the pinnacle of their career. You know, that's what we've all said, you know, Alyson said it as well, and I said it earlier, we dream of being an Olympian, you know, so to get that chance and then to get that medal for Laura is just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it was really emotional. I think because it's not always gone Laura's way. You know, Laura's had some hard races and she's just missed out on medals at World Championships in the past and at the Olympics in the past. So for her to come away with a silver medal was just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and she's, I think, you know, for the last 5 or 6 years, you know, Laura has been a real inspiration to youngsters coming up. You know, she's a Scottish girl. She trains here, you know, she went to university in Glasgow and she's built her career here, so I think she's quite relatable to the youngsters. I think sometimes when you see a foreign athlete, you think you can't really quite imagine what their life is like and you can't see you emulating that, but when you've got someone who's closer to home, I think it's easier to sort of think, yeah, maybe I could do that, you know, and start believing in yourself. And I think that's what Laura does for a lot of Scottish athletes at the moment.
But it's amazing seeing it. It's been so good to kind of follow her career over the last few years and then get that Olympic medal. How did you feel watching it?
Emotional. I feel emotional just thinking about it now. It was fantastic. You know, I used to train at the Kelvin Hall and Emirates, and I would see Laura doing her sessions and she would be round and round, and it's just so tough. I used to be in all of the sessions because being a sprinter I wasn't doing as many laps as that, and I was like, my goodness, it was incredible. And you just seen the work ethic she had, you know, and the drive that she had, and that was wonderful to see. And it's wonderful to see all that hard work and a lot of sacrifice as well, of, you know, at the same time. But she's now got that silver medal. She's probably sleeping with it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we do have to talk about it, because for you were so close to an Olympic medal. Can you actually just tell us about your experience, especially with the 2004 Olympics?
Yeah, in Athens, I didn't, like I said, I didn't have a good individual. I was in really good condition, but I didn't have a good individual. The Olympics just sort of probably overwhelmed me, and psychologically I wasn't quite prepared for it. So I didn't run well, but I had to sort of suck it up and go on with it because I had to really run. So yeah, we finished 4th. But quite a few years later we found out one of the Americans had tested positive, and initially we were told we would be upgraded to that bronze, and then we didn't hear anything, and then it turned out they decided actually we weren't going to be upgraded because the athlete who tested positive, she ran in the heats and not the final. And basically just before those games the ruling had changed that if you did run in a heat you would lose the medal even if you didn't run in the final. But because she only confessed to taking the drugs up to the date prior to this rule change, meant they got to keep the medal. So yeah, I thought I was going to get a medal, but came away just in 4th place, which was, yeah, really disappointing, especially when you've had a bad individual. You know, that would have helped me overcome that, and would have helped me going into the following winter training and the following season to have had that medal.
And then probably the frustration thinking about it now too must be knowing that could have been you. And you have had numerous medal upgrades throughout the years. At points throughout the years you've been Scotland's most decorated athlete. I know that kind of changes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Ailey Doyle overtook me at some point.
But knowing that there could be more, and watching all these huge major championships take place, how does that feel? Does it play on your mind?
Sometimes I go through stages of it where I don't care, and then I go through stages where I'm actually quite sad about it, and then I get angry about it, but it is what it is, you know. I've got to just accept my career's finished and move on, don't I? And it's now about the next generation, really, or probably the generation even after that. I've retired that long ago.
But I suppose, I mean, alongside Laura, we do have other great Scottish athletes. Even Zoe Clark, Gemma Reekie, Nicole Yergin, who just kind of moved from America to represent Team GB. For them and for Laura too, and Beth Dobbin as well, there's so many, and Alyson McColgan, I mean, the future is bright.
Yeah, there's a real good number of Scottish athletes who aren't just making the teams, you know, they are striving to get to finals and get medals. And yeah, my heart goes out to Gemma Reekie, you know, that 4th place, I know exactly how she must feel. It's a really tough place to finish, but she's an outstanding athlete, and I think, you know, she's got, there'll be medals for her in her future, I'm sure. She trains with Laura, so both of them are in good hands with Andy Young, training hard, and I'm sure there'll be some medals for her in the future.
Absolutely, well, so many to watch, and it's so great to follow their careers. Katie Shanahan Geamaichean Oilimpigeach san Amarsnav an Taurich seo ag Farpais Òigridh na h-Eòrpa. Rinn sin gus barach fain amach when hana fanjargi si a gamas anish ag na Geamaichean Oilimpigeach an Albannach.
Ha vrosnach ag snabbatar Katie Shanahan sin an sa bicin Bheir méideadh, mar a bhí a feicean cútean na bhain a h-àire den tuil the Farpais Òigridh.
Yeah, I think, you know, going to the Commonwealth Games, going to the Europeans like that were here in Glasgow and stuff, watching the Olympics, you know, I've always knew that I've wanted to be an Olympic swimmer, but you know, I think like joining this club and seeing all the older swimmers and, you know, aspiring to be like them, it really motivated me to try and be the best I can. You know, without the support network I have, I would not be here today. So, you know, my mum, my friends, Danielle, Ian, you know, Scottish swimming as well, they've all been so great, you know, with everything helping me through anything I need, all the support behind the scenes, so yeah.
Ha Katie go háirit a cointed na Geamaichean Oilimpigeach an na Glasgow an na Olympian Ha je bheach go bhfuil a misnach agus an tollachas fan na Geamaichean sin, the adachting and due hast.
Definitely, you know, a home games, like you can't really ask for much more, can you? And especially, you know, a lot of the younger swimmers would have seen them, been there, watched all these, you know, like so Ross Murdoch, Michael Jamieson, who done really, really well. And you know, it definitely has probably motivated a lot of swimmers to, you know, keep pushing it, you know. And even, you know, just being around, being in this pool that the Commonwealth Games was held at, it's just great.
Colach the hula lùth-chleasaiche ba Katie dragal man lùth-chleasaiche le bui cove the nochdadh. Ach le taich fo coach Daniel Grayson agus nav ALBA, tron amshin by Katie chita Katie a training, college and yowing a share sa duich.
Yeah, you know, when we first found out that it was a lockdown and all the pools were shut, you know, I did kind of worry a lot. I was like, oh no, like how long am I going to be at the pool for? I was worrying about the next season, you know, next year and stuff. But I tried to keep calm, you know, I was doing home workouts. Scottish Swimming actually gave us a lot of support, doing a lot of Zoom workouts, doing a lot of Zoom, you know, get-togethers and stuff, just to keep the spirit alive during lockdown. And then in July, I was lucky enough to have been one of the elite swimmers, and I was training with quite a lot of people that were in the Olympics just there, like so Duncan Scott, Kathleen Dawson, Amy Wilmot, Ross Murdoch at the University of Stirling. That really, really motivated me, you know, swimming with them, it was just amazing. It was such a good experience and stuff. And then obviously January hit, another lockdown, quite devastating again, but I was really lucky enough to have been still training here, as this was a training hub. And then throughout March and April, there was a lot of British swimming bubble meets, so you know, I was really, really lucky and grateful to have been still going to swim meets when other swimmers couldn't have. And it must have been hard for all them, you know, watching other swimmers being in the pool and stuff, but I mean, yeah, I just really am grateful and lucky to have been still in the pool.
Ba Katie Lántáchas a dolasaichan ó chuirt iadannach ag Farpais Òigridh na h-Eòrpa san Uachad. Ach ha haas dad a bhí héin a chruitsin, Homasarangi House around.
So Rome, it was the European Junior Championships. It was my last European Junior Championships because this is my last year as a junior. And honestly, it was such a great meet. I really enjoyed every single part of it. You know, being in Rome, being outside in an outdoor pool, I didn't really know what to expect because obviously the sun and swimming, but honestly, it was just such a good meet, so well run. And yeah, I'm really happy with my results. I didn't actually expect to do that well, so to come away with 6 medals, I'm delighted. I was on such a high, you know, after getting 2 golds, 2 silver, you know, individually. It was just amazing, you know. I knew my preparations did go really well before the meet, so I was quite confident in my abilities going in.
Sé am le a hasio do snaban an ALBA. Le tar service h-Eòrpa for lùth-chleasaichean Albannach ag na Geamaichean Oilimpigeach. Agus ba Katie Shanahan ar Karajan the podium on Tokyo.
Honestly, I'm so delighted, you know. The humility they show during interviews, it's honestly, see, knowing that I've trained with them, I know them and stuff, it's just so good. I'm so delighted for them how well they've done. Knowing that these people train in Scotland and stuff, knowing that, you know, I could be like that one day, it really is motivating, yeah.
A clech go an brosnach sin, ha Katie a gal nach héimeich go cuarpa an artíide. Agus hai son a bhí mar fars to skip in a halpa ag na Geamaichean Oilimpigeach an Aflana.
I think the pathways that Scottish Swimming have put in is quite, like for me, it has been quite a natural movement and process, you know, stepping up through the ranks, going from junior to senior. But yeah, next year obviously it's Commonwealth Games, so I'm really hoping, you know, hard work, but yeah, I'm really hoping to try and make that team next year. To make the Commonwealth Games, you know, you've got to have the smaller steps, the smaller process goals to ensure that you have that larger outcome. But no, it definitely is, like the Commonwealth Games is up here, but before I try and get to that, I've got to go through, you know, my technique isn't perfect, my turns isn't perfect, so I've really got to work in this stuff to get there.
Le díadach 3 bliana the Yol guna Olympics an the Paris. Gnátar a ha Katie a gaslingus on h-Àire, call the Futures Bhreatainn and the medalist chiad.
It's worked out quite well for us younger swimmers. It's only 3 years to wait. So, you know, I think obviously my main goal is the Commonwealth Games, but knowing that only 3 years away it is the Olympics, it really does motivate me to work hard because, you know, it's not that long away.
Lee, another brilliant young prospect and someone who looks like she's got a big career ahead of her as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sounds like she's had a fantastic career already and still so young. She's obviously gained a lot of experience and learned a lot from training with other elite swimmers in the pool, which is fantastic. You know, we touched on that earlier when I was saying like people are seeing Laura Muir and they can relate to her, and she's had that same experience with the swimmers.
I was just going to say, she must, like you've just said, take so much inspiration from being in the pool with Kathleen and Duncan. I know you're saying from your kids as well, Duncan Scott's like who children want to aspire to be in the pool just now, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole swim GB team had a fantastic medal haul. They were, you know, they were winning a lot of medals, so definitely will have inspired a lot of young children who are just getting into swimming, and obviously ones who are already in the pool and their career has started. Yeah, it was a fantastic games and definitely would be inspiring a lot of the young and up and coming. But the big thing is Katie will have seen them, so she sees where their training's at, and she'll probably say, actually I'm not that far off it, and that's what will give her confidence, knowing that yeah, she's not that far off reaching that stage herself.
Yeah, she'll know that it's kind of within reach for her to be at.
Yes. She'll know what to expect. She'll know what training is needed and required to take that next level. Yeah,
she'll be a very good one to watch, I'm sure. But I suppose with sport comes the pressure of sport and perform at the top of your game. There's a lot on you, and a lot of the headlines throughout the Olympics have varied, but someone who kind of dominated them throughout the middle of it was Simone Biles, and she was open and very honest and brave about kind of her struggles mentally and kind of taking a step back and saying, I'm not right to compete right now. I mean, how much courage does that take? Because it's probably something that we haven't seen a lot of previously in the Olympics and during a major championship event.
Yeah, it's relatively new for sports people to speak out on mental health issues. I think the perception from the public is they have to be mentally very strong, and they are mentally strong. That's the thing, they are mentally strong. But there are points where they do suffer from mental health issues as well. You know, they're humans. You know, they are human beings at the end of the day. They're not robots. So yeah, I think someone with such a high profile speaking out is only a good thing.
Absolutely, and the thing as well, with a physical injury, you can see it. With your mental health, you can't always see that there's something there, but the two do go hand in hand through all walks of life, and particularly in sport. And do you think that there kind of needs to be just more open conversation, more accepting that if someone's mental health isn't quite there, then they need to look after that too?
They do. I mean, your mental health is vitally important, you know, and I think in society in general, people are speaking out more about mental health. You know, it was always a bit of a taboo topic, wasn't it? And people are speaking out in general, and now the actual elite sports people are starting to speak out as well. And it is so important to their performance. And I think, I think it's great that people are opening up and they feel that they can open up about it. And I think the less sort of stigma there will be around it. So I think Simone's really leading the way with regards to that.
Do you feel like or wish that there was more open conversation back when you were competing? Did you see that around you or experience that yourself? No,
we did. It was never talked about. We never it never came up. So it is great, and I think, you know, a lot of not just track and field, but a lot of sports are putting things now in place in order to make sure that the athletes have the help that they need. Before, I think it was just ignored, you know, but now actually they are encouraging for them to open up, and they're looking to see what can we do to help them, rather than just sweep it under the carpet and say, oh, you'll be fine.
It'll be good to see how that's kind of put into place then, with more big events coming up soon. We do have the Commonwealth Games 2022 and then Paris 2024. The cycles are different now. What did we have, 5 years a year and then 3 years? It's all over the place. How will athletes be dealing with this and coping with this change of cycling? Yeah, I mean, now they've come from the Olympics, this is the point where some of them will still have meets to do, some of them will be taking a break, but the coaches behind the scenes will be writing the schedules, and they'll be saying, right, what have we got next, and they'll know what their athlete's going to need to do in order to get Commonwealth Games next year. Olympics, only 3 years now to the Olympics. I quite like the idea of the Olympics every 3 years. Yeah. I don't like waiting definitely don't like waiting 5 years. So yeah, everyone will be setting their goals again, because normally as an athlete, you know, you work in a 4-year cycle, so that's now have altered. So yeah, the coaches have got their work cut out for them, having to extend to that 5-year to now cope with a 3-year. But it'll be, yeah, I'm sure Paris. I can't wait for Paris already. At least it's not too far away. Just 3 instead of 4 years, which is good. We do also have, there's still athletes out in Tokyo. We've got the Paralympics coming up again. Another great event for people to watch and see our Scottish athletes in action. Yeah, the Paralympics are fantastic to watch, so that is good. We don't have that long to wait till our next event, do we? We'll be back up in the middle of the night cheering on the Paralympians next. But yeah, again, we've got a good team out there, and hopefully there'll be lots of medals to come. No, absolutely. But Lee, it was so great to have you in the studio this week. So good to hear all your chat about your career, and then obviously all of our athletes and how well they're doing. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for having me. Shanahan gaibh an nach maha, and a h-Eòrpa be clicked there to na mahar lian crichtin call rooms in studio. Jan Keenshach gavel she Ballantyne 3 shasked their YouTube agus gave she program Bheir iPlayer BBC. Hi homa a Bheir he's in shape and a h-Eòrpa.